All right. So, we're trying out four color shadow today. Pretty stock main deck. Looking at things like Death Shadow, Tarmogoyf to put pressure on our opponents. Cards like Street Wraith, Mishra's Bauble to effectively shrink the size of our deck by giving us free cantrips. Traverse the Open Wall to help find some of these threats. Some special one-ofs like Scourge of the Skyclaves, a great beefy beater that doesn't require us to lower our life total as much as something like Death Shadow does. So really good in the matchups against like Prowess, the Rakdos mirrors. Lurrus is a great late game value engine to get back baubles, get back threats, just kind of keep some of the gas rolling. The appeal of going four color over like Jund, Rakdos, or Grixis is with the appeal over Grixis is you get access to Tarmogoyf and Traverse to up your threat density pretty consistently. Stubborn Denial over Jund gives you answers to not only your opponent's hand, but often their top decks. And then like Temur Battle Rage over Sultai gives you the ability to close out games extremely quickly. Dito, how's it going? See, do you not like one Plague Engineer over a Kozilek with Traverse? So I don't think Plague Engineer is good right now. There's just a lot of X2s in the format, and that makes it a bit of a liability. Not a lot of like humans or a little bit more spirits nowadays, but just not a lot of things that it's great against. And yes, as Tito has pointed out, we are running a copy of Uro in the sideboard. Trying it out, see how it goes. We've played it in a couple leagues before, and it was actually pretty solid. Like, I think we saw it in 3 games in one of our leagues, and it won us 2 of those 3, and like would have won us the 3rd if our opponent hadn't Bomat couriered into a removal spell and a Soul Guide Lantern. So, pretty funny. Let's see. Trying to hit hit Auriok Champion though, right? So we are trying to hit Auriok Champion, but we do have 2 copies of Kozilek's Return on our board, plus an Engineered Explosives. We've got the Hand Disruption, and unlike Grixis, we've got Tarmogoyf that can just swing through it. So it's a concern, but it's not as big of a concern as it is out of like Grixis. So yeah, let's just jump in, see what happens. So the first match with 4 color shadow with an Uro in the sideboard. See, now, if only we could play Lurrus as our companion with Uro in the main, then we'd be on to something. Alright, so Traverse can get our second land, but triple Stubborn Denial and Traverse not being able to hit blue. Pretty easy throwback here. This hand is better. We don't have a threat, and we don't really have a lot of ways to dig for one. So my gut inclination is to go to 5. I think if we had a threat or we had a Traverse, I could see myself keeping it. But no threat, no Traverse. This is much better. So we can get rid of Lurrus and our basic Swamp. And just have like Thoughtseize into Tarmogoyf, and if we had a 3rd land, into Death Shadow. So we'll see how well that goes for us. Green-white Heliod. What is this thing? 2/3 Flying Vigilance. Snowlands your opponent's control enter the battlefield tapped. Non-creature spells your opponent's cast with CMC 4 or greater cost 2 more to cast. Interesting. they do have double Utopia Sprawl and Scavenging Ooze. Like, Heliod's the scariest card in the hand. Ugh. I guess we do kind of have to take it. Unfortunately, the Scooz is going to, like, absolutely wreck our Tarmogoyf, right? But we'll see what we can do. And they hit an Arbor Elf. Pretty good with their double Utopia Sprawl hand. Alright. So they can play Scooz and double Sprawl here by sprawling, untapping. But they'd have to choose green, yeah. Then playing second Scooz and Sprawl. Mentor, sure. Ugh. Don't want basic Swamp. So one of our best draws in like the next turn or two would definitely be Dismember. Fortunately, the second half of Redain, or however you say this card, does not really apply to us. The non-creature spells with CMC 4 or greater. They could play the shield half of it, but that doesn't seem particularly great either. Alright, opponent, just hit us with your Conclave Mentor. They do play it. Go figure. I guess we might as well get a forest out of our deck. Alright, so we can get Shadows online, but we still need some help. Preferably in the form of that Dismember off the top. Guessing they're just going to eat all the graveyards here. Alright. Never mind. Alright, so what do we want? Trophy, EE. Not so much K command. Okay, return though. K command's a potential option, but a little less excited about it. Things we don't want. Traverse is a little awkward in the face of Scavenging Ooze. Cling to Dust isn't great. Traverse is a little bit better than Stub, though. I'll probably want K commands over some of this stuff. I don't mind like a Miser's Stub. Occasionally you get to hit something. Eladamri's Call, Path to Exile with it, Celestial Purge. Alright. Need our opponent to be a little generous with helping lower their life total, but we've got Kozilek's Return, which is great in a matchup where Auriok Champion's a big concern. Relic of Progenitus, sure. All of these things are very awkward for Kozilek's Return. So I think I'm going to take Utopia Sprawl and try to, like, get a 2-for-1 off of this Kozilek's Return. Sure. All right. So, Conclave Mentor. So how's this life loss gonna go? If I play out the Scourge, fetch Shock a Breeding Pool. I guess I could fetch Shock Watery Grave since I got the Forest. Doesn't really matter. Play out the Scourge. Opponent shocks to 16, plays out the Mentor. If I attack with the Scourge and they block, they would gain up to 8 and it would deal, or they would gain up to 18. Scourge would die after the Mentor trigger resolves, so I would have to Battle Rage. Yeah. It's not great, but I do need to get some pressure going in that direction. Alternatively, they could play the Skoos, and I'd probably just K-return. Alright, so if I dismember the Mentor, how would this go? Play Forest, dismember the Mentor. they'd gain up to 18. I'd attack for 2. Worst case scenario would be they get to resolve Spike Feeder. Because then they just Spike Feeder, gain 4 life, kill my Scourge. I can dismember, play Shadow. Should probably just... Well, like, if I attack and they block, I have to Battle Rage, or my Scourge dies. So if that's the case, it's better for me to dismember and play the Shadow. Because I don't want to use the Battle Rage right here. And I need... Oh, dismember gives -3, -3. So they don't even gain life off the Mentor because its power's lowered. God. Yeah, this can't kill them. So I'll just play out of Shadow, say go. And best case scenario would be they brick on a land here. Alright. That's good to know with Conclave Mentor. I forgot that it was based off of its power. So, like, you gain life equal to its power. I thought it was just you gain 2 life. How many times have you escaped an Uro since playing it? I think 3 in total. I think. I could be off there. Hand's not great, right? Not bad. I think we're just going to bottom second trophy. Bench, how's it going? I was going to ask you about your 4-color mana base. Because I almost thought about trying out Blood Moon in 4-color today. But ended up not. Did I like Egon or I'm sending him to the Ghostbusters? I think sending him to the Ghostbusters. He wasn't, like, terrible, but he wasn't great. Got you on the hydrate. What does it mean sending it to the Ghostbusters? I'm assuming he just means sending it to the I'm not playing this card list. Or I'm probably not playing this card list. Alright, opponent. Be nice. No land drop. Main phase collected company. Maybe I get to collected company. Or counter a collected company. Remember that time I said the Miser's stub was great? And that gets our red source for K return. Oh, do they just have multiple collected companies? Opponent, you're not a nice person. Yep. Do I have to just take out both of these? Are they drawing into? Forest. Yeah. Like, I know they can kill my Tarmogoyf with this, but I need to get a Auriok champion off the board. Now you have the Veil of Summer. It's a pretty decent opponent. So, draw step, shoot this, make them discard. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. They just draw a company. All right. So then, yeah, we should have done it on our turn. I completely forgot about Gavany Township. But I don't believe we were winning this one anyway. God. They were sandbagging a good bit of stuff. carousel. Update our matchup guide. Nope. Alright. On the draw. We're just like one fetch land away from it being a really good hand. Or a non-Bloodstainmire fetch land away from it being a really good hand. Aha. Oh, is this Storm with Burgee? Alright, so after that Thoughtseize, our opponent was missing Payoff. Yeah. Payoff and a mana reducer. Certainly not missing Serum Visions. Now they've got all the mana reducers, but they don't have a payoff. So what are we taking? Taking instant would put Tarmogoyf big enough to turn on Ferocious. So I think I'm just going to take Repeal. Let's check it how they scried. One top, one bottom. Alright, then if we get to Stubborn Denial something, we get to turn on Delirium. So hopefully we can stub something like a Gifts. That would be like best case scenario here, right? Opponent goes Mana Dork, Ritual, Gifts. Alright, so that Bauble also turns on Delirium for us. So I think we'll just get a Shadow, play a Shadow. So we can hold up Stubborn Denial. Like, Scourge would definitely be our better threat right there, being a 10-10 instead of a 3-3. But if our opponent was expecting us to have Scourge in the deck, it would look suspicious to just get Shadow. I don't think Scourge is anything that these decks would expect. I think I'm okay with this. Yep. Again, looking for the payoff. So I have to believe their last cards, either they're baiting with a Valakut's Awakening, and their last card's not good. If they're baiting with the Valakut's Awakening, then power to them. Looks like it's just add Jegantha to hand. Alright. So we can traverse for a Street Wraith. No, we need to traverse for a fetch land. Could traverse for a Peatland. Don't hate that. No, needs to be a fetch land, because if we traverse for a Peatland, they can double block the Shadow and take the Tarmogoyf. But this gets both of these bigger than Jegantha. I think I just want to play Lurrus here, honestly. Got a Bobble in the yard. Like, either one gives us a lethal attack for next turn. But Lurrus, if for some reason our attack isn't lethal, is better. Alright, so Gifts by itself doesn't do it. They can Gifts, we can give them Manamorphose and Past in Flames if they go that route, and they don't have enough mana to Manamorphose, Past in Flames, and have mana available to start going off from their yard. Ritual, Past in Flames, empty. So we're just giving... What are we giving here? Empty and Past in Flames. They can't cast either of those, right? So you're dead? Okay. I was super confused for a second. Alright. So, Mystical Dispute's good. I don't want to go overkill on Grave Hate because they're typically bringing out some of their Grave Dependency spells post-board. EE can sweep up Goblin tokens. Trophy can deal with a Mana Dork or a Aria Flame, but I don't really like the idea of answering an Aria Flame after it's resolved. So these are kind of like my less exciting spells here. Veil. People always talk about Veil for Gifts Ungiven, but like a 4-mana card, you're not really too concerned with gifts. Board out some Dismembers because I don't want that getting hit by Remand. So if I had to pick, I think I'd rather have Trophy over Veil. Just go like that. Alright. Not the greatest. Not terrible. Now it got a lot better. So they went top bottom with their scries. They're drawing into a Valakut Awakening. I'm drawing into a Mystical Dispute. So, if I fire off this Thoughtseize, worst case scenario is they've got like 2 mana reducers. If I draw into the Mystical Dispute, I could like for sure nab one of the mana reducers. But I really just want to play Tarmogoyf on turn 2. So we'll say go. Stub's a good draw. So let's see, they could Ritual. So I'm guessing Breeding Pool is a giveaway for Veil of Summer out of their board. I've seen it out of some of these fetch versions before. So it's not like absolutely unheard of. We still don't have instant in the yard, so I think I'm just going to kind of start hitting my opponent in the face with a Tarmogoyf. Awakening, sure. They put everything on the bottom? Dang. Nope. I'm gonna remand this. Command your brawl, sure. Don't know any of these. Draw 2, discard a card at random. Alright. Discard Past in Flames, sure. I can answer Past in Flames pretty easily. Land, please. Thank you, deck. Sure. Past in Flames. Say go. Alright. So mana's not going to be an issue. Alright. Mana is still not an issue. Sometimes you just need to draw 100 Stubborn Denials and it's fine. Alright, so again, looking for payoffs. Serum is fine. Brawl is fine. Just empty the warrens. Put Giganta in hand. Sure. Is there any reason to trophy Urgy? I don't think there is. Like, what I trophy doesn't really matter too much. But if I can make my opponent just, like, spend their entire turn playing Giganta, then game's just, like, functionally over, right? Baby Dino, has this list been good for you? For the most part, like, we're still testing out the Uro, but like we 8-2 finished the PTQ week and a half ago, something like that. I think we're like 3-3 in the last PTQ. Is there any other? I think that's about it. So, man, it's been solid. We didn't have Uro in for the first. Actually, we didn't have Uro in for either of them, so do have to take that with a grain of salt. But if we're talking about just like 4-color in general, then yeah, 4-color's been solid. Alright, so opponent has mulled to 5. Gemstone Cavern. So when I see Gemstone Cavern, especially now, I think Tybalt's Trickery. So I think I'm just going to lead on Blood Crypt Thoughtseize. I could lead on Stubborn Denial, but I kind of want to know if my opponent's got multiple outbursts like just that, and if they can cast them. Because if we saw like double outburst, Trickery, some card we didn't care about, then I'd be leading on, or I'd be playing Tarmogoyf this turn. But because we saw the Trickery or the double outburst and 2 lands, it means I can't really tap off of this Stubborn Denial right now. For just such an occasion. Luckily, this Bloodstained Mire kind of hides that we're on blue. Their 2 blind draws were Simian Spirit Guide plus 3rd land. Rough. Oh, did they flip into another Trickery? They did flip into another Trickery. That's pretty great. So last card in hand is another copy of Trickery. Sometimes all you need is a little bit of luck, right? So we know their last card in hand is a third, yeah, what would be their third trickery. See if they want to counter a Scourge. Because they can't hit both a 5th land and a Cascade spell on their next turn. They couldn't have been running Simian Spirit Guide without leading to the possibility for that to happen. Right, like the more you work to power out Trickery by playing like additional copies of your Cascade spells and Simian Spirit Guides and things like that, the more you have to dilute your deck with more things that aren't just like Emrakul. Alright, is this lethal? So if I go 4, put them down to 12, this becomes an 8/8. Yeah, so this is exactly lethal, which means they have to either Tybalt's Trickery, the Battle Rage, or die. And I'm kind of fine with either one. Because if they Trickery the Battle Rage, I'm just going to let them Trickery the Battle Rage. Like, I don't care about the Battle Rage resolving. I'm not going to fight over it. So, like, fighting over it, if they've got the 4th copy of Trickery in their hand, could be wasting a card, wasting the stuff. Like, it would get the 4th Trickery out of their deck, so, like, 90% of their stuff doesn't function, but I don't need to kill them that turn. Like, if I just keep the stub in hand, there's basically not a lot they can do. Alright, what am I bringing in? What do we see? We saw Trickery. I should have paid more attention to their graveyard. Whoops. Wonder how many basics this deck runs. Like, I honestly have no idea, so I don't know if Assassin's Trophy is just like a strip mine or what. It could just still be better than some of the other options. Like, I want Fatal Push out of my deck. Yeah. Occasionally they board into, like, bad Primeval Titan decks. Nope. Need to make sure my opening hand has got Stubborn Denial or Thoughtseize or both. Nephalia Academy. Well, opponent, I will actually not be Thoughtseizing you. So we definitely cannot slam Tarmogoyf this turn. Just an ardent plea. Do you have the Simian Spirit Guide? Do not. So I guess we're just going with bad counterspell mode here. Bad mana leak. List plays 2 basics in the sideboard and 0 main. You can try. I mean, I'm going to try eventually, but I've got to pick my spot here. I'm trying to see how many of these trickeries I can get out of the deck. All I know right now is this Kozilek they about to get with double exalted triggers is going to be pretty rough. Alright. If they got another Cascade spell, can't do a whole lot about it. I'll take that as they've got a 3rd Cascade spell. I guess that one's okay. Yep. All right. So, first game they cascade into another trickery. This one they cascade into an Emrakul. Something about the consistency here is wildly confusing. That being said, the Assassin's trophies on the play seem a lot better. All right. Thoughtseize into Tarmogoyf. Hopefully no Gemstone Cavern. Traverse. So yeah, I'll take Traverse because I've got artifact, creature, sorcery, land all going to the yard here. So, they were planning on turn one-ing me. That's kind of rude, opponent. I would appreciate if you didn't. So what is my play here? I think I have to Wraith or traverse for a Wraith. Hope to Wraith or yeah, traverse for a Wraith. Hope to Wraith into a Thoughtseize or an Inquisition. If not, just play out the Shadow, and if they got the second Mana Source, I probably die. But we'll see. They exiled over 2 other Spirit Guides on the Cascade. And they get a Kozilek. Alright. So Kozilek is good. It's not game ending. But it is certainly very solid. Actually, I think it is with Annihilator. Do I have any outs? Like, I think with Annihilator, it does just represent game here. It's like I could play land Tarmogoyf. They attack, I sack my 3 lands and my bauble. And I can't block. Or I can't double block. So like I'll end up sacking everything to the Kozilek next turn anyway. Yeah. Alright, let's add that one to the matchup guide. Yeah, we did have Trickery in our deck, didn't we? That is fair. Are Mystical Disputes better than Leaks in the sideboard? Sometimes. Like, sometimes you really want to only have to counter something for 1 mana. I say sometimes, a lot of the times. So, like, turn 3, Tarmogoyf plus Mystical Dispute is really nice. Alright. Gotta ship this one, unfortunately. As much as I want to keep a triple bauble hand. We're just throwing back Inquisition. Going like all in on this shadow quickly. I like it. Could very easily be wrong. It could be a throwback Battle Rage. But we're in the blind game one, and we've got the possibility of just like turbo aggroing out our opponent. That's a pretty annoying hand against us. We could just take Auriok Champion. Like, my fear with this company is that they just, like, oops into the combo, right? Like, with this second Battle Rage, I feel like I can fight through the Auriok Champion pretty easily. Game 2, Dispute would be great. Counter that enchantment, Cascade, blue-white. But we did not see. Well, we don't want to counter the Ardent Plea. We want to counter the Tybalt's Trickery. Because if you counter the Plea, then... I guess you could counter the Plea with the Trickery still in the stack. So yeah, that's fine. Never mind. Don't listen to me. Alright. Stop this extra mana. Alright, so they drew Wooded Foothills for the turn. Not gonna lie, didn't even notice it. So this should just be Conclave Mentor, yep. Play out Heath. Not play out Heath. Alright. So opponent can Ballista for 2. So I'm at a functional 8. Which means if I fetch and shock down to 7 and Battle Rage, I'm not dead to just Ballista. So I think that's the plan. Let's make sure so we go down to 7. Shadow becomes a 6/6. Yeah, we're trampling over for 10. Why Kozilek's return over Plague Engineer? Isn't the red mana a bit greedy with only 1 crypt? Or are you just trying? Giving things -1/-1 isn't very relevant right now. Like, there's no tribal decks running around. Aether Vial decks are on the decline. Like, the only thing you really care about is Auriok Champion. And Kozilek's return deals with it, along with dealing with some random things like Conclave Mentor, Skyclave Apparition, stuff like that. So you just get a lot more coverage out of Kozilek's Return than you do out of Plague Engineer. Alright, so returns, trophy, EE, K commands, take out stubs, take out a traverse, cling. I wonder if I just want to take out Scourge in this matchup. Like, they just have so much life gain, right? And like we saw last time, or when we played it round 1, there was a lot of awkwardness with Scourge. Alright. What do we got for game 2? But like the red mana for Kozilek's Return isn't really greedy, because you have to have 3 lands to play your return. And by the time you get to your 3rd land, it's pretty easy to have all 4 colors if you fetch halfway correctly. And none of the decks that are playing cards that you want to K-return against are running any, like, Ghost Quarters or Field of Ruins or anything like that. Yep. Like here, because of this turn 1 Blood Crypt, we can get turn 2 Breeding Pool, just have all 4 of our colors covered on turn 2. And be able to start knocking things out. Adorno, thank you so much for the follow. Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday. Is it? Yeah, it is Tuesday. Tuesday morning, evening, or afternoon, wherever you're at in the world. Appreciate you stopping by and hanging out. Alright, so do I want to kill this Arbor Elf? I think I'm just going to Inquisition. Take Heliod, say go. They do get to, like, Utopia Sprawl, Ranger Captain, plus a 1-drop here. Death and Taxes seems like a matchup I'd want some sweepers. Sure, but how much Death and Taxes are you seeing right now? Because I'm not really seeing any. So this is 2, 4, 6 for Walking Ballista. So I think I'd rather just play out the Tarmogoyf here. So I'm going to need to kill the Ballista If I like kill the ballista and the ranger captain or something like that, then I feel like I'm doing myself a little more justice. And like we've tried Plague Engineer against Death and Taxes, and it's not good. Like you hit Thalia, which you don't really care about that much. You hit Flicker Wisp, which is pretty good. But then like Giver of Runes dodges it, Stoneforge dodges it, Leonin Arbiter dodges it, Archon of Emeria, Skyclave Apparition. Like all these things you want to hit, skip it over. Alright, so Shadow off the top would have been best draw. Solus, how's it going? Alright, so we need to kill this before it starts getting out of hand. Then I think I'm just going to go ahead and push the Skyclave Apparition. I know that it can't block the Ranger Captain, but it at least gives me some kind of presence on the battlefield. So much mana. Shadow. Well, I guess deck. So it can block Ranger Captain, wipe their board. I wouldn't mind an Assassin's Trophy to blow up this Temple Garden. Something, something, how's this Kozilek's return? Totally messing with you. It is an instant. Very, very underrated part of the card. Yeah, fetching here is fine. Threat. Not a threat. I mean, we're just like a shadow away from killing them, right? You have a company. Sure. I was really hoping they were just going to like play out a Mother or Giver Runes there. Shadow. Ooh. You're not a shadow. Honestly, I can't do anything with you at the moment. I guess I play it out, because if they kill it, well, no. Can't play it out right. I was going to say, if they kill it, I get to Fatal Push, and that part seems really nice. But I kind of need it to gain me some life here. So I would prefer to have it live. Path, Purge, Skyclave Apparition. All live on my defenseless Lurrus. You're gonna company. I'm not really sure why you wouldn't company in response to my yeah. I'm not sure why you wouldn't company in response to my Kozilek's return. Because if you hit Heliod, like, you just win on the spot. But I guess if you hit some terrible little creatures like that, then it doesn't matter too much. All right. I guess trophy's not the worst. Three types. So if I am able to like push something, I can get close or be able to traverse. That does not get red mana. But we are going to take the opportunity to use mana efficiently. Just traverse for a shadow, play it out. Say go. Yep. Ha 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 ha. It's better than the first shadow, a second one. Company. So best draw here would be a fetch land that gets a Blood Crypt. That's not far off, actually. I do not think my opponent could have tapped any faster for that Collected Company. It's like, no, Company! Gotta get it on the board. Might leave my hand if I don't. Oh, can I actually just kill them here? I can. Sorry, opponent. Your luck off that company did not match what I thought it would be. Whoops. You jinxed me? Nah. That's like part of the mana base, right? We choose to run a Misty to have the extra fetch land for the basic forest. And it just so happens to not be able to get the Blood Crypt. The alternative would be run like a Wooded Foothills, but it doesn't get Watery Grave. And I'd rather get Watery Grave than Blood Crypt. So. Do you think taxes is bad right now, or people are just trying out other things? I don't think it's particularly good. Like, it's fine. We saw that Parrot, I think, was the trophy leader last season with taxes. So you can't really say, like, oh, trophy was bad without mentioning, oh, the trophy leader. Or you can't say taxes is bad without mentioning that the trophy leader was on taxes. That being said, we have been in a really big, like, lightning bolt, lava dart meta for a while. Not so much now, but previously. And I think, like, prowess is starting to come back a lot. I feel like the taxes matchup against the combo deck probably isn't too terrible, because you're talking about, like, for them to go off with a Thalia, they need 5 mana available. And if you're able to get, like, Thalia into Arbiter, Ghost Quarter, or something like that, like, they probably just can't win. So, this, like, 100% depends on our opponent dealing damage to themselves. I think I'm going to ship it. In the blind, game 1, everybody's kind of goldfishing. I think there's too many variables here. Like, if my opponent's not dealing damage to themselves or playing creatures, 2 of the 7 cards in my hand are dead. And if they're not doing those things, like, I just have no way of interacting. Unfortunately, mulling to 6, I probably have to keep it. It's like the same hand, but I pick up Fatal Push instead of Dismember. I'm like not happy about it, but I don't want to go down to 5. Ironically, we should have kept the 7 if we knew we were up against Prowess. Light up the stage. That's a whole bunch of lava darts. The new Weathered Runestone stops Tybalt's, right? I've got to read Weathered Runestone. Let's see. Let's see. 2-mana artifact. Non-land permanent cards in graveyards and libraries can't enter the battlefield. Players can't cast spells from graveyards or libraries. No, it does not, because they both, when you cascade, you exile the cards and you're casting it from exile. With Spectacle on top, why don't you kill the guy? Because I'm not scared of this guy. I'm scared of Stormwing Entity. And if I didn't Inquisition, he just had Manamorphose into Stormwing, I couldn't beat that with my hand. So I needed to stop Stormwing Entity from coming down. Alright. Does it block Trickery? Does Trickery exile the cards, or does it just reveal them? I read Tybalt's Trickery. Yeah, so they choose 1, 2, or 3 at random. Its controller mills that many cards, then exiles cards from the top of their library until they exile a non-land card with a different name, and then they may cast the card. So it's cast from exile. So Runestone doesn't stop it. It's the same thing with Cascade. So if we look at like Violent Outburst. Oh, card, not cast. Outburst. Does not give reminder text of Cascade. So when you play a spell, remove cards from the top of your library from the game. Otherwise, put into exile. Until you remove an online card that costs less, you can play it without paying its mana cost. So yeah, just like that, it's removed from the game or put into exile. And then you cast it from outside of the game. I kind of want to see if my opponent will like use some resources with this Soulscar Mage. Like, fire off some spells. Preferably lava darts. Burst lightning me. Do something. So I'll probably end up getting a breeding pool with this and cracking the peatland. Try to find like a Tarmogoyf. So Dart for light up the stage. I know, Dart for Stormwing, sure. So now they get to scry with Stormwing. We get to trophy the Stormwing. Shuffle away their scries. Top, you say? That's very convenient for us. So their hand is Lava Dart, Burst Lightning, Unknown. Another Stormwing entity. Believe we're going to take that one. So push would be great here. Blood Crypt, not so much. Alright, so like the top card of our library is either a push or it's not a push. So if our opponent like goes all in on this Sprite Dragon, then we're either drawing into the push off the peatland or we're dead. But holding up mana at least stops them from just snap going for it. See. So if you aren't playing blue, you can't stop trickery. I can't find anything that prevents cards from being cast from exile. So I don't think there's anything that specifically says that they can't cast things from exile. But like some of the people have suggested, things like Containment Priest, Silence, The other one, there's like an Eidolon and Aether's Horn Canonist. They can all like stop your opponent from casting multiple spells. Is it not Containment Priest? So it's only the one that says they can't cast multiple spells. Does Containment Priest not say stop for, or cast from hand? Nope. Good call. Alright, we're up against Prowess. Hey, look, we got an Uro matchup. Some other True CMC white card. We're gonna find it then. Let's see. What have we got? So obviously Silence itself. Deafening Silence. 1 mana white enchantment. Let's throw that up there. Where's the creature? See, card Eidolon of the Rhetoric. Yeah. So this hand interacts with the cheap dudes. It interacts with Stormwing Entity. We've got land instant towards Delirium. Or land sorcery instant. Magistrate. What's the name of the magistrate? Draneth Magistrate. So let's add that one on the list. Boom. Alright, what are we leading on here? How much do I want to respect Blood Moon? I guess, like, since we can play around it if we choose to, it's not too big of a cost. Are we crazy for just taking Gut Shot? Feels like really bad if they just top deck a second one, but any like creature or something. They're not doing anything. Then we'll hold up like Mystical Dispute here, so if our opponent tries to Manamorphose into a Stormwing, we got it covered. Are we countering a light up here? I think I am. Alright, so we still need, like, an artifact, a creature. So this looks like attempt to turn on, light up the stage. So we'll say no. Viking, how's it going? It's so far over here. I think we're like 2-2 this league. So, upside on playing Lurrus is I get to have a Lurrus. Downside is if they find like any way to get this Stormwing on board next turn, I'm in a lot of trouble. But if their turn is just like hard cast, light up the stage, then I could be okay. So let's go for it. And if they do end up killing the Lurrus, then I get to like traverse for a threat. And if they draw something like Bolt to kill the Lurrus, then they can't light up the stage. But they can Stormwing. So opponent hasn't snap played Stormwing or killed Lurrus yet. So I'm not really sure what they would have drawn into. Maybe like a... Oh. So they are going for the Stormwing. It's a pretty good turn out of them. Alright, we're cracking in with Lurrus. Kind of the idea here is we'll keep attacking with Lurrus, and opponent can either like find a way to deal with it, and that opens up Traverse, or they can't find a way to deal with it, and we'll just gain 3 life over and over again. Either way is kind of a good spot for us. Yep. Trophy's a pretty good pickup there. So I'm probably just going to trophy this now rather than like risk them being able to untap and draw God, like Spell Pierce. Vapor Snag my Lurrus. Vapor Snag plus Stormwing Entity. That's not good for us. They topped with so they intentionally put the second card with Stormwing Entity. Like, put the second card on top. So I don't know what they would have put on top and then decided, like, actually, no, I don't want this. So, what's best case scenario? Opponent attacks with Stormwing only, passes. Alright, so it comes down to them drawing dead for a turn. All you, opponent. If we're dead, we're dead. If we're not dead, you're dead. That looks pretty dead. Hopefully it's like a light up the stage. Nope. Never mind. It was fun while it lasted. Alright, so some thoughts on the deck. We didn't get to see Uro there, which was kind of disappointing. Mystical Dispute was okay. Against the Tybalt's Trickery deck, like, having access to Aether Gust is really nice. But don't have Aether Gust currently in this list. But if I did, they'd probably be in place of like Uro and maybe like second K Command or something like that. Depends on how popular Hammer Time is. Main deck, Scourge was awkward a couple times that league, showing up in like our life, or we couldn't lower our opponent's life total, or showing up as our only threatened times. So that's important to note that that can occur. We also didn't run into any like Rakdos decks. So one of the matchups that Scourge really shines in, we didn't get a chance to see it. But other than that, I'm fairly happy with the list. Like, we'll definitely need to make some adjustments as the Tybalt's Trickery deck pops up more. When we last played this deck in a major event, Trickery wasn't a thing. So, what do you think is better at the moment, 4-color or Grixis? Depends on where Uro is and where the Tybalt's Trickery deck is. If Trickery starts showing up everywhere, I'd rather be on Grixis. Because with Grixis, at least with my list, I don't know about everybody's, like Snapcaster, this 2 Drown in the Locks, Aether Gust in the board, Grixis, like, has steamrolled Tybalt's Trickery for me. Like, every build of Trickery I've come across. 4-color, we lost access to Snapcasters, Drowns, Aether Gust, and, like, that's a lot of interaction for that matchup that you would wouldn't mind having in your 75. Also, Uro. If, like, Path to Exile to Fairy, the 4-color Uro deck is big, 4-color gets a lot better because the threat consistency is there. Where here, if they answer, like, your first threat, you're way behind because you're unlikely to find a second one in a timely fashion. Grixis Green is an option, but I still think it's always been a bit of like inconsistent pile-ish. Like, you've got a lot of good stuff going for it, so maybe it's an idea to go for, but you do have to understand that, like, the mana in it, even though it doesn't seem like it's that big of a splash, is subpar because you're losing access to things like Traverse that help fix your mana. And then you're really wanting to operate on the 1 mana axis a lot more consistently. So, just things to think about. But I still like Grixis better than like 4-color and Grixis Green in the Tybalt's Trickery matchup, just because your answer consistency is a lot higher. But I don't think they're like huge percentages that can't possibly be overcome or anything like that. So you can always adjust your list slightly to accommodate. Alright. So I think I did get a late start, but